Hello, Honeybunches. I hope this finds you doing okay and your January's gone in your favour. I feel like everyone's very haggard and pandemic's still very much a thing. Today is the 1st of Feb, so happy belated Chinese New Year to anyone who celebrates that. Yeah, it's nice to be back. I was feeling a bit procrastination-y, not super thinking about videos because I was just feeling very full and fulfilled and energized by what else I've been doing in January. But then in the post yesterday, the little screws, don't know if you remember, but Vlogmas, this was a duct taped situation, but I bought the replacement screws and she is sturdy and much more enjoyable to use, and that seemed to whip me into action. So much to catch you up on. This morning what you saw me photographing was some chocolate mousse, which is a exceptional recipe. It's sort of a level up from your general whipped aquafaba stirred through melted chocolate mousse that is the sort of standard vegan version. I found that a bit watery and it sort of pools at the bottom and just not creamy enough for my liking. So that'll be coming out soon. An intention I have for this year is to post more recipes, hopefully one weekly. I sort of cook, as you might have gathered up on, like in bursts, and these bursts center around cookbooks but vegan series filming or Christmas, and it really is like a muscle, and I would just like to keep it going. And I also feel that my skills are at a point where I really can, like, that should be achievable, but I'm not going to force it. But yeah, I have a few recipes ready to go and hopefully they'll be a regular thing every Friday, I've decided, if you want to cook it that weekend. So that was a chocolate mousse, and then the other thing was like a pistachio cherry lemon layer cake. I was using up some cherries we had in the fridge, trying out another layer cake. It was... But my January, where to start? Well, I guess I had a version of a holiday. I had 10 glorious days where my mum went back to Canberra with my dad because of the pandemic. She hasn't actually been up there for like 2 years, and she used to go up like 10 days of every month, which, you know, leads to a bit more tension because you're living in each other's spaces more than was the routine, at least, and ideal for my age. And yeah, it was just me and Merlin, and he was so good in that period. I asked around and people were like, oh yeah, like dogs are so much better when they just have one person, like, and I think he was that combined with he wasn't totally sure where my mum was. He was a bit like he stuck by me a bit more, and it was just so affectionate, so well behaved. We had such a groove, and I was able to iron out his desire to wake up in the middle of the night by implementing my training approach rather than being interfered by my parents. Oh, we'll just do XYZ. No. Anyway, so yes, yay for that. But also it was the beginning of many breakthroughs and true igniting of cooking passion in both the gluten-free, I mean, shut up, it's getting so good, but also just feeling engaged and inspired by the food scene. I think I've really figured out like where I find the most inspiration, and that is, not surprisingly, I guess, through the food and the texts I grew up with. And that can mean like going back to like the matriarchs of the Australian British food scene, like Margaret Fulton, Mary Berry, and like all the vintage Women's Weekly cookbooks, all the super early vegetarian cookbooks, just really early stuff. It just seems to like calm and simplify my brain and make cooking feel less frazzled. And honestly, just like reading old Women's Weeklies, going back to very like, I guess, this is making me sound so gross and cringe, home eccy techniques, which I don't like per se, but remembering those while taking my plant forward, pushing, leaning approach with food. It just seems to, work and center me. Short version of that is remembering the basics, I suppose. But yeah, on the vegan gluten-free baking front, we've had so many breakthroughs in the bread sphere, in the puff pastry sphere, in the cake sphere. I was getting quite frustrated with all the little different flours and buying them in such small quantities and how expensive that is. So while my parents were away, I bought 5 kilo bags of like different flours and made up the blends and sort of took over one cupboard in our laundry, which is a cool dark place, and have sort of got my kit together to like test a bit more passionately. To hopefully this year, in the first half of the year, start some sort of micro bakery. Just got to get the phone. That was my grandmother. Where were we? Something about saying how I've spoken to a few people, a few family friends who've had foodish businesses, and have been getting my head more around the council business logistics, the costs, and what model would be most realistic, both with COVID around, having like strong boundaries so I don't feel like I'm on call anytime and it's quite set, and I can, like, time wise, make it quite a set thing, so I don't feel so overwhelmed. I'm just really in the sort of slow prep but sustainable inertia of getting it going and feeling like I have something to offer with the food, and kind of gently excited about that. I'm actually this morning going back to a family friend who I had a lovely chat with, and they've finished their it was a vegan cake business, and they're having a clean out, and there might be stuff that I could use, so that's exciting. So this month has been surprisingly productive. I was a bit like scared about sort of jumping into that because it felt really unknown, but just sort of starting and getting it going, I'm feeling groovy, and been doing lots of food writing pitches. I've been able to do some more nannying, which has been lovely, and I've just really enjoyed making the most of summer. And I tend to get like way more active in the warmer weather. I mean, I'm sure that's like a seasonal affective disorder swap, opposite of that. Today I just finished the Yoga with Adrian 30 day series, which was nice because I hadn't done it for 2 years, but this year it felt, I wouldn't say effortless, but like far less effortful than, I just wasn't feeling it the last 2 years. And going for heaps of bike rides, swimming, although we do have like a lot of jellyfish from El Nino. All the rain we've had causing some weird, combined with climate change, weather things. There's so many jellyfish because I guess the rain helped the breeding. I don't know. They're just everywhere and they do sting, so that makes the water a little less convenient. And our summer has been super muggy and no real like cool changes to cut through the weather. I feel like this isn't interesting to people, but the weather affects how you feel. So we've had like a Sydney summer instead of a Melbourne summer. The humidity just is becoming the norm. That aside, very much enjoyed feeling like fitter and stronger and more active. Very nice to be back, and I'm looking forward to showing you the food stuff especially, and documenting that a bit more. A bit overwhelmed with the number of cookbooks I have now? Yes, I am. Do I need a bigger bookshelf? Yes. That was so generous of that family friend. Didn't realise she was going to be giving me like cake pans, ones that are the same size. Can't wait to make a very neat 3-tier situation. There's a lot for me to get stuck into and experiment with. During my errands, I just popped into the op shop and someone had donated their whole like Australian Women's Weekly collection. So I might have, kind of got 9 of them. I think I've decided that's something I collect now. Like, not the new ones, because they kind of suck, but Women's Weekly is like actually a monthly magazine, and there's a whole series of their cookbooks that they brought out, which are kind of like magazine-y cookbooks, but very generally, like, some recipes are like, like, what are you trying to do? But they're always executed very, like, efficiently, so I just find them really soothing to look through. Anyway, want to see them. We have sweet old-fashioned favourites. This is a lol, but look, it's the mince meat cookbook. These were all like $1 or $2, FYI. But I picked up this one because when it comes to mock meats, vegan mince is one of the better ones, and you can turn it into a whole bunch of stuff, and often is gluten-free, so that's helpful. This just had some funky as pics in it. The Oriental dinner party. It's also just so interesting to sort of do a bit of a political, cultural, social deep dive into the West, like having no qualms, borrowing from other cultures and cuisines and suggesting they're experts in it, and adapting the flavours for more Western palates. Best ever. Oh, shit. Slimmers recipes. I don't want that. I thought it said summer recipe. Oh, okay, well. Celebration cookbook. Entertaining recipes. We have finger food. Here's another one. Easy Mexican style cookery. This is like one of their first ones. Best ever recipes. And then this one I was like, whoa! This is a interesting number in the timeline of free from cooking. It's friendly food, everyone. Avoiding allergies, additives, and problem chemicals. Well, not so much chemicals and additives, but very interested to see how in 1991 they suggested you go about being gluten-free. Yeah. And then I have a whole stack of books over here. I was telling my mum the other day, during the Ash Barty Australian Open final, I was feeling a bit tense, and was just reading Old Woman's Weekly Cookbooks because I was finding it really soothing. And I was telling mum how I find so much more interest and inspiration and get really energized from cookbooks that aren't vegan. Like, I don't know, I really just kind of want to give away all my old vegan cookbooks. I don't cook from them rarely at all. If I have, it's been like 2 recipes, because I rarely cook from recipes full stop. I find them to be more constricting, and because I kind of know how to make things, I rarely like agree with how someone does it, because it's just to their preferences. And especially with vegan cooking, it's not rooted in the same sort of, I'll say principles, but like it's not like the techniques of French cordon bleu trained, working with dairy, roasting meat, these like quite culturally agreed upon ways of doing it. And obviously there are naturally vegetarian dishes where you do get that like proper way of the method. But I think maybe what I've like graduated from with all these old vegan cookbooks I have is that I just find the execution is never like reliable to the same extent that like your Mary Berry, I guess, trained people are. And that's not to say you can't, make good recipes if you're, self-taught. It's more just the technique I find is just a bit rocky in how it's written or the ingredients used, and rather it's the flavour profile of the dishes, which is really what the cookbook is selling. And those are so personal, and less like uniform throughout different vegan eaters, because it's relatively so new, and there aren't dishes like a roast chicken which everyone goes, oh right, yeah, know what that should taste like. And then also people just have like odd levels of acceptability around texture vegan cooking, and I sort of just don't trust a lot of recipe makers. So yeah, I find much more enjoyment looking through recipes which I trust would work if you made them in their actual form, and maybe just borrow the technique and apply in a vegan gluten-free epic scenario. I don't know. Hope that made some sense. Today's been a total off day. I had like the worst hay fever I've ever had, which is just so annoying. You just can't feel like yourself. My nasals have been attacked. Pretty hard to stay in a positive mood, but yeah, I tried to do a few things in the kitchen, but just some vegan gluten-free recipes are so shit, and I was trying to figure out before, like, what is it? I don't think I take it personally. I think I just feel I feel responsible when they don't turn out, because you're handling with ingredients and I hate waste, but more because I'm like blaming myself. Like, Phoebe, you've made enough recipes in this sphere before. Surely by now you can like be the judge, or you couldn't pick a bad recipe from a mile off, but still some surprise me with their awfulness. Yeah, so those flatbreads were just a non-thing. I've been playing around with oat flour. Is really common in gluten-free recipes, especially like American EU based ones, because oats over there supposedly are gluten-free, or can be at least, but I react to them. So I found that corn flour, not cornstarch, but corn flour, like maize flour, and not masa harina, but just maize flour, can be a really good substitute. Like, it absorbs water a similar way, and it has a nice bready, like home style, good smell and taste. So yeah, I've been trying a few recipes that I otherwise would have let be because they have oat flour with them, subbing in corn flour, and it's worked wonders for like my raisin bread. But just seeing some other stuff, it's not so simple. Better. That was really absorbing, and I didn't find it very frustrating. I'm really happy with how it's turned out. It's much neater, like meant to be type of look than I imagined it would. Yeah, it might take like 4 sittings, but that's okay. My nose and eyes have stopped running. Yay. I find it quite funny how, like, on days where I'm feeling off in whatever way, I think because I'm already feeling like, oh, just so crappy, like I might as well do the thing that I'm dreading, because like it'll be hard, or I'm scared or something, because of like a, well, it can't get any worse type attitude. Don't know if that's the best to have, but it always makes me feel better, because I'm like, hey, she's still capable of doing stuff.